Hello, friends. Welcome to week 3 of your reading lesson. So we've been talking about community and community helpers, how you're a helper. We talked about different places we could go in our community. A lot of you shared awesome writings about field trips and where you would go on your field trip and who you would see there that's a community helper. So we're going to continue with learning about our community this week and community helpers. Last week we read a book called Whose Hat, and we were looking at some different helpers and the things that they needed and that they used in their jobs. So we talked about a farmer wears a straw hat and boots and overalls. One of his tools might be a pitchfork. We talked about a chef usually they wear that tall white hat, maybe some slip resistant shoes, an apron for their clothes, and a whisk as a tool. A firefighter has a protective helmet. He wears big protective boots, a jacket that can protect him from the fire and keep him safe, and a hose for a tool. Today we're going to read a book called Whose Shoes. So last week we read Whose Hat. This week we're going to read Whose Shoes, and we're going to stop. I'll pause every once in a while to just make some predictions based on our illustrations to help us make a prediction of who those shoes belong to. All right, let's get started. All right, the title of our story is Whose Shoes? A Shoe for Every Job by Stephen R. Swinburne. And I noticed that there's lots of different shoes on this cover. I see some that maybe would be good in the summertime. But I do notice that I see most of their legs, so I think it's probably warm. But I see this boot right here. Maybe that would be better in the wintertime. So different shoes for different times of the year and for different jobs. I also notice it's a photograph. So I'm wondering, is this story going to be fiction or nonfiction? Is it going to give me information or is it going to be for enjoyment? Let's read and find out. All right, there's a table of contents right here because there's actually 2 stories in this book. This is a book that we have at school. Whose Shoes? A Shoe for Every Job by Stephen R. Swinburne. Most people wear shoes. Do you wear shoes? I usually wear shoes. Even when it's warm outside, I like to protect my feet in case there's rocks or glass on the ground. But some people don't. The first shoes you ever wore were soft and very small. Maybe you still have some pairs of little baby shoes at your house from when you were a baby. If it's cold outside, you wear boots. If it's hot, you wear flip-flops. Maybe you wear sandals sometimes. Your favorite shoes might be blue or silver. People wear different shoes for different jobs. Can you tell whose shoes go with what job? Whose shoes? Look at this picture right here. It's a photograph. Whose job would that be that needs to wear special shoes like that? Because I don't wear shoes like that. Can you make a prediction? I predict a ballerina. Yes, ballerinas have to wear special shoes to help them with their dancing. Whose shoes? Can you make a prediction? I predict big, tall rubber boots. And I see a cow in that photograph. What do you think? A farmer. Yeah, farmers wear big boots so their feet don't get muddy. We saw that job in our last book, right? I think we might have seen this job in our last book too. Whose shoes? Can you make a prediction? I predict, let's see if you're right, a firefighter. Yep. And I see all of his protective gear and his hat like we saw in the last book too. Whose shoes? Who wears big tan boots like that? An Army National Guard soldier. Whose shoes? These are special shoes. They're called cleats. They have little spikes on the bottom. A soccer player. So if you've ever played soccer, you might have a special pair of shoes for that. Whose shoes? What job do you think that is right there? I predict a construction worker. Yep, they have to wear protective boots and keep their feet clean. Whose shoes? do you think? What's your prediction? A post office worker. Whose shoes? This one might be a little tricky. What do you predict? What shoes do you think those are? A chef. Oh, we had a chef on our last book too, right? How about those shoes? Whose shoes? A clown. Yep, that's a job. And so he has to have special shoes for that job. Whose shoes will you wear one day? And I see some different jobs here. All right. So I added some information to our chart. I added another job. I added clown as a job. And they usually wear silly hats and big clown shoes. Put a polka dot shirt, and maybe a tool they would have would be balloons or one of those pumps to blow up balloons. I also put soccer player on there. And they don't usually wear hats, but I know that they wear cleats to help them in their job. They wear a uniform, and they need a soccer ball as one of their tools. So today over on Seesaw, I want you to draw a picture. You don't have to write. The only writing you'll do is maybe some labels. But what I want you to do is I want you to draw a picture of a job that you might be interested in doing one day. Maybe you don't know what you want to do because that's a long ways away, but maybe you have something that sounds kind of interesting to you. So today on Seesaw, I want you to go over there. I'll have a page for you, and I want you to draw me a picture of a job that you would like to do one day, okay? And then I want you to use the microphone to, and you can add some labels, and I want you to use a microphone to tell me what job would you want to do and what kind of shoes would you need for that job. So here's an example, but you can add a lot more colors, or if you want to do it on paper and pencil, and then with paper and pencil and colored markers or crayons, and then take a picture of it and put on Seesaw, you can do it that way too, okay? All right, so here's an example of something that I made. So I would like to be a teacher, and maybe you could add some background and more colors. I just had one marker, so I was just trying to show you real quick. I labeled it with the sounds that I hear, teacher, and I would wear comfy shoes. So when I use my microphone to record on Seesaw, I might say something like this. I would like to be a teacher when I grow up. I would wear comfy black shoes that kind of look like dress shoes. Okay, so you can tell me what job would you be interested in and what kind of shoes would you need for that job. All right, I can't wait to see what you guys share on Seesaw. See you tomorrow.